Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Experience Maker. This is Dan Gingiss, customer experience speaker and experience coach, and I am so excited to be here for episode number 10 on this Thursday afternoon. We're here every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. We really appreciate you joining us. Today, I'm super excited because my guest on this show is somebody that I've known for a while and who is just one of the smartest people in the customer experience business. I'm gonna set you up real high so that you have to deliver, Lori. Chief Experience Officer of the Results Companies. This is Lori Brown. Nice to see you, Lori.
Hi, Dan. Nice to see you too. How's Chicago?
Chicago is not quite as warm as Fort Lauderdale is,
Right.
as I understand it.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about you and the Results Companies, but I think I have to ask you first about this piece of artwork behind you because it's definitely got my attention. Tell me what it's all about.
Yeah, it's called Party on the Beach, and I understand it's by a French artist, and kind of looks like I'd say the early 40s, 30s. Just a bunch of folks partying on the beach, and I live literally, I can look out right now. A little scary sight. I see a humongous cruise ship right off the beach here in Fort Lauderdale. So normally we don't see that. Normally we see lots of little boats and things like that, but the big ships have been hanging out there. But yeah, so I figured when I moved in here, like I got to bring the party in, and so here we are.
Well, that's great. Unfortunately, not so much partying going on in the beach outside, I'm sure, but
No.
hopefully sometime soon they'll be back out there.
I hope so. But you know what? We still get to go out and enjoy the sunshine, walk along the streets and all. So it's a beautiful place to be.
That's awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about the Results Companies for the people that don't know, and even maybe a bit about your background.
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with I'm Chief Experience Officer at the Results Companies. We are a BPO, but we really like to focus our expertise on delivering a great customer experience, not only to our external partners and their customers, but really to our internal partners, our employees who are on the front line each and every day, servicing our partners. And, you know, especially in this time of need, they are just doing an unbelievable job in servicing our healthcare partners, roadside assistants, cable providers. You know, everyone's getting online, right? More than ever. And so our folks are out there helping, and we're making sure that they're staying safe and happy, and giving them some tools and the environment around to really just deliver a great experience. So part of my role, I've been here 11 years at the Results Companies, is to really just help support the front line in delivering that experience, and then, you know, working with our partners and you know, understanding the experience that they want for their customers and how we can help deliver that to them. That's kind of about me.
That's great. So, and so obviously you're in the middle of an unprecedented time right now, as we all are, and you are a company where most of the time all of your employees are in one place in buildings together. So tell me what you've had to do, and obviously you've had to make some changes really quickly, but tell me what you've done so far, and then how's it going?
Yeah. You know, it's interesting to, you know, and people talk about different business models, and you know, you kind of sit and you talk about things and you say, well, maybe we'll do this. And when the time is right, it's like people who decide they're going to have kids, right? The time's never ready. Sometimes you never do it. Well, you know, we've talked about work at home in the past, and, you know, we really have a unbelievable workforce that come into our facilities each and every day. And so, you know, we have a lot of brick and mortar sites across the globe. And so all of a sudden, when folks weren't able to come in, we had to flip our business model to work at home. And, you know, I'm not going to lie, it's been an interesting, sometimes arduous task, but we are well on our way. And, you know, I was just reading some feedback from one of our locations, because we want to know, how are the agents feeling about this? How is the front line? Are they getting the support that they need? Do they have the technology they need? Do they have everything that they need to be comfortable? And we've gotten some great feedback. So again, we're going to keep deploying, and we're going to keep working. We want people, we know people want to keep working. We know people, you know, they have their careers, and they need, you know, we all need a paycheck. And so, we are here to make sure that we're delivering that to our frontline and our employees, that we're giving them the environments to help keep them working and keep delivering the experiences that they do each and every day.
So I know it's almost impossible to predict this, but do you think that some of the changes that you're making now are things that you might actually keep going forward, given the
Oh,
learnings that you've had?
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we were always a brick and mortar, although we had a lot of remote, support employees and so forth. But yes, we are absolutely going to be staying with most likely a blended work at home, brick and mortar environment, which I think is really the best of both worlds. And we're learning and we're sharing lots of best practices across the organization on what's the best way to support, what are the ways we can engage, real time, if you will, with our folks. Is it through Teams? Is it through a different type of video chat? How are we talking to them? How are we giving them that individual coaching? How are we doing a team huddle? And so all of those things is what we're working through, but we absolutely believe that a blended model is going to be how we are going to come out of this. And, again, some of our partners are going to say, you know what, thanks for offering the work at home and keeping us up, but, we like the brick and mortar. And then there's going to be some that go, you know what, we had it all brick and mortar, we're going to do fit. So again, we're going to be really working closely with our partners to make sure that we've given them the right level of service, whatever that looks like. But we will absolutely be, moving this through. So when we get to the other side, we'll just be a much, broader and be able to offer so much more as an organization.
Well, it's great that you guys are being so flexible and frankly innovative, willing to try new things, which you sort of have to be in a situation like this if you want to stay moving. I'm curious because I know that you work with a lot of big, really well-known brands. And I'm just curious if you could tell us broadly, you don't have to name anyone unless you want to, but if you could tell us broadly, how are your clients reacting and what are you hearing from them in terms of this new reality that we're in?
Yeah. Everyone, I have to tell you, Dan, because we are all in this together, it's interesting. So I've been in this business for over 20 years. And I was telling someone the other day, I remember when Irma came through, the hurricane, because again, we're right here in South Florida, and it knocked everybody offline. I mean, this was again, however many 20 years ago or however long that was, maybe not quite 20, but I remember there was a partner in one of the Northeast states, and they called up and they were just like, not really understanding. Again, they didn't experience the hurricane. We experienced it down here in South Florida. This was at a previous company I was at. And the partner was just like, we want our people on the phone. And we're like, well, the entire South of Florida has no power. I mean, we just had no power. We were, this was early on. And so it's not like that now. Now, everyone is in it together. And, you see things on television and online about how this is going to bring people closer and maybe a more caring society. I've really noticed that our partners have just come together and they're like, how do we help support you to support us? What can we do? What can we say? And, that changes in consolidated business hours. Hey, we know this is hard right now, so let's shrink our hours a little bit. We'll put something on an IVR that says, because of, what's going on here, we want to make sure we're servicing you. We're going to service you between these hours and we're going to do a really great job in between these hours. So, we have, partners are doing that. They're giving us, I'm on a daily call with one of our partners where all of the BPOs are on it together and we're all sharing best practices. And I mean, it wasn't like that before. Right. And so everyone is just open to sharing and just being able to make sure that we come out of this, all of us just stronger on the other side.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. I'm seeing the same thing in the speaking industry, and I know that you're also a speaker outside of your day-to-day work, which we share in common because I spent a lot of time in corporate America while trying to be a speaker as well.
Right.
But I think that there's obviously it's not a great time to be a public speaker, and I think that a lot of speakers are, especially in the National Speakers Association, a lot of people are getting together, trying to help each other out, trying to figure out, well, what might we do in this time? How do we do virtually? How is virtual different than in person? How do you price differently? All these things that sort of everybody has the same questions, and there's
Right.
not necessarily an answer. But as the old saying goes, misery loves company. And sometimes when
Right.
you get the company together, you
That's
can
right.
figure this stuff out. So
Think about all the brain trust in a room, right? That you're all, no, it absolutely is. And one of the things that we also do, and you know this from, us knowing each other for the last few years is, we are, heavily into technology and innovation. And so our innovation division actually came up with something, and, almost counterintuitive to, well, wait a minute, you're a BPO, and your job is putting people in places to help service customers. Well, our innovation team came out and door prospects who need to get something up quickly, right? Whether it's, a hospital answering questions about COVID-19, where do I go? What are the guidelines? Where do I go online to look for this stuff? We have this, this opportunity to offer product to our partners and anyone else who's out there that really helps get a rapid deployment of self-service out to them. So, again, we're a people business, and that's what we do, but we also recognize that innovation is needed here. And again, being able to deliver something quickly like that to help the public, because again, where a hospital may have had a couple of hundred or 1,000 calls a day, now there are hundreds of thousands of calls a day. And so being able to help out there is really what we've strived to do. And the team has been, the last couple of weeks just heads down working on this. And again, you'll find it on our website, but that's one of the things. And again, we're doing it on the agent side as well, giving them more technology to help. So on both sides of that, we're really trying to drive that innovation.
And that website is www.theresultscompanies.com, and we'll put it up on the screen for everyone to see. Let's continue this conversation about self-service, and let's take it out of the COVID-19 era for just a second, because I think what's really interesting about self-service is really two things. One, I think especially the younger generations have shown a proclivity for wanting self-service. And so the companies that offer it and that allow you to go to an app or go to a website or whatever, just solve the problem yourself, actually then they get much higher customer experience scores, even though the experience is not with a human.
Right.
And I think that's really interesting. But the other part is that self-service often allows a contact center some breathing room, because they're not answering some of the more basic questions that frankly people can figure out themselves. And so it leaves them more time and energy for the more difficult questions where you really do need to talk to a human. And I'm just wondering if what you were seeing before COVID-19 in terms of the usefulness of self-service as it pertains to your business, because you are a human business, as you say, but I would argue that the right self-service options would actually allow your employees to do a better job at their job.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, we've talked about this for now a couple years, is the innovation that's come from a self-service perspective has really just left BPOs with the more complex call types, which then, if you think about, elevates the skill level that we need, right? Elevates the training that we have to supply. We have in several of our locations and what we call our learning labs for, we service telcos, cable providers, and so streaming companies, entertainment companies. And so we have all these devices, that are there, touch and feel. Well, now all of a sudden we're going to put them in a virtual online to be able to help our agents with, okay, how can I self-service and understand these? And then as well as to customers out there to put them on the website so that they can self-service. And so you'll see some of the technology that we've put out there, especially for the telco, from our Device Bits division, is literally and you've done it, we've all done this, we've had to go reboot our cable box or something like that. all of that's online. And now these customers can do all of this self-service. So again, when it comes to, okay, I've tried everything online, now I need to go talk to someone, our agents have the skill set, the training, understanding to help troubleshoot some of those more complex calls. So I think there's a nice balance there between self-service and then us being available to help if self-service can't get you resolution.
I totally agree, and I think the one other part that we didn't mention is that often self-service then will make the queue a little bit shorter, right? So if I can reboot by myself and I can handle that, then that is one less person that's in line before you who needs help for a more complex thing.
That's
And
right.
I think that at least what I find is that, the longer people wait, the more ornery they are, which means now your agent's having a more difficult conversation because it's an angry customer,
That's
right?
right.
Where somebody who's able to call and get right through is going to obviously be more pleasant to talk with.
Right.
Have you noticed, if we jump back into the COVID-19, have you noticed, because you were saying that professionally people are helping each other out, have you noticed from the consumer perspective that the people that are calling into the contact centers, are they more understanding? Are they more relaxed? Or are you still getting these angry, frustrated people that we all know about?
Not everyone's angry. Think about some of the partners we service, some entertainment,
Yeah.
they're all happy to get signed up and start streaming this great content.
Yeah.
I mean, we have not, we were listening to some calls yesterday, and people, their frustration, right, is for maybe long wait times as opposed to just frustrated in general. But, I just wanted to go back to kind of on the self-service and the whole experience is you have to have the right technology available from a self-service, because there is nothing worse than saying, oh, you can do everything here on your phone, on your app, or online, and it not work, right? So it needs to be the right technology to offer to your partners. And so that's really understanding, what are your customers, are they millennials that are more familiar with self-service, or do I have a product here where the average age is something, more than millennial, and, I really need to make sure that my self-service options are really good ones, because then they will call in, they will be frustrated. And so that's not a good experience for anyone. And then having to, de-escalate a call, because maybe if we had just, taken a little bit more time on the self-service, a little bit more explanation, a little bit more intuitive, we'd be able to, again, to your point, is just really service those more complex calls. So, there's experience from a people standpoint, but there's also that experience too, that you have to think about that underlying when you do deliver innovation, right?
Yeah. And I think, what makes this work so well is that you've got the whole journey working together, and you understand that a customer may go to several different places, and you've got to be there in those places. They may try to self-serve themselves, they may try to chat on the website, then they may call, or they may go in reverse order, whatever. And I think that when you're there with an answer for them in any of those cases, it's obviously a really good experience. And what I love about what you guys do is sometimes within a client side, it's very difficult to look at things like self-service and the contact center, because they're two different teams and they're incredibly siloed, right? And sometimes they don't even talk to each other.
Right.
Whereas you guys, because you can do both, you're making sure that your clients are looking at both of those, which again is, makes the customer very thankful, because everything's a lot smoother.
Right. What's interesting is, as we sit here and talk, and I'm not even sure if companies still do this, because it clearly didn't work, is they would, you'd get into their IVR and they'd say, okay, well, if you want to talk to somebody, that's a $5 fee. So they thought that was going to be call deflection, only what that did was probably say, I'll go find another company that wants to talk and service me. Hopefully, a lot of those companies that were doing that found that if I invest in a self-service option, right, that will deliver a great experience there online, I don't have to threaten a $5 fee if I want to go talk to somebody. I've trained the people to handle the complex interactions, and I've taken the ownership of taking and being able to help my customers do the self-service that we think they should be able to do. And then if they can't, clearly they want to use the product or service, now let them go talk to somebody who could deliver it very quickly, right, succinctly, and have a, and every good experience builds brand loyalty.
Yeah. And
Right.
and the reverse is true, right? And that's why I never quite understood the companies that seemed like they didn't want to talk to their
Right.
customers. I mean,
Right.
look, without customers, we don't have a company. So if
That's
they want to talk to us, in whatever form, I think we should
right.
always be willing and eager to do that.
Right.
I always say, even if they're complaining, complaints are so valuable. We shouldn't be afraid of them. They tell us this is a customer who could so easily just drop us and go to the competition, but
Uh-huh.
instead they're saying, you're not delivering the experience I expect. I want you to fix it so I can
Right.
continue being your customer.
Right. Right.
And we should be like, thank you so
Yes.
much for telling us.
Yes.
And it's
And that's why, yep. And that's why we really, and this too, and I've had these conversations, we got into the whole speech analytics, and now we call it interaction analytics. It's not just speech anymore. But that's why we got in very early, was what are people thinking? And we're going to hire thousands of people to listen to calls when technology can do it for you. And so we, to our partners, to say, here's the bad things that we want to hear so that we can go fix. We want you to hear so you can go fix, because it just makes us all better, right, on the other side. And so that's really helped us, over the years, and just really building those partnerships that we have.
Absolutely. So I want to shift gears a little bit. We mentioned the millennial generation, and you and I have talked about this before, but I'm interested in your thoughts on the workplace today encompassing so many generations of
Mm.
people. And how do you handle that from your perspective in terms of hiring and training? And have you found that different generations are better in different channels, or do they learn differently? And how are you? Because I think you and I shared a slide once that showed there's either 4 or 5 different generations right now in the workplace altogether,
Right.
especially with some of the older generations coming back into the workforce. So talk to me a little bit about how you guys prepare for and handle that.
Yeah. Um, so you're right. I mean, there are multi generations, and one is not better, worse, different. And so, exactly. And I would say yes to everything you asked. Yes, they learn differently. Yes, there's differences in what they want, from us as an organization. So we've done things like, in our centers, we've put big TVs for our streaming partners, cable partners, telco partners, device labs, where the younger generation tend to go and sit and watch and play, and with the devices. Some of the older folks, we train in our training rooms, and again, we're talking about doing virtual training and virtual training labs. They're good with what they know. And I even sometimes, like Teams came on, and I'm like, I don't want to know another, I don't want to, I already know Zoom and Skype. Why do I got to learn another one? So, even we push back sometimes on learning, but, folks are very open. They know that's part of the roles. And so, learning what they need to learn for their calls. But then, again, it's back to how do we train them? So sometimes we have individual training. And so we're piloting some of that, where it's kind of your just individual learning, and then there's group sessions to look at the feedback and who needs help, who doesn't. We offer things, like after training, if people are having issues, we'll we'll say, hey, stay behind, and we'll help you, because we do a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of tech support in some of our areas. So again, we see multi generations, because you're right, older. I'm going to say older, right? My generation, a little older. We want to continue to work, and so how do you attract those folks, right? So to our centers, and so we have flex shifts. So if somebody has a Friday night basketball game that they're going to go watch their son or daughter in every Friday night, well, we have somebody else that can cover those shifts, right? And so we really take that into consideration, because we want to provide a great environment for our employees. And so it's everything from how do you train, how do you recruit, how do you interact, and now with the whole work at home, right, that even adds another layer of how do I interact? To your point, my kids, you know, they'll just text. They don't even want to FaceTime me. They just text. They don't want to look at me. They don't want to talk to me. But you and I would FaceTime more. So again, we're learning those different patterns with our employees, and it's been fun. It's been fun the last few weeks. It's been stressful, but it's been really fun just learning all of these new dynamics that are going to go into play.
Well, the big difference now is that, see, my kids would rather just Snapchat with me. So
well, there you go.
that's yet a different generation. So we're talking with Lori Brown, who is the Chief Experience Officer at the Results Company. And again, I'm Dan Gingiss, and this is the Experience Maker Show, where we talk to people who are experience makers at their business. And Lori certainly is one at the Results Companies. Lori, we have just a couple minutes left, but I did want to go back to you as a speaker. And I know that you've been around spoken at a lot of places, and like me, saw a lot of events get canceled or postponed. But tell me, when you go out into the field, so to speak, and speak, what are the kinds of topics that you talk about?
Yeah, so I'll talk about everything from a lot of how technology helps improve the experience, again, both from an internal perspective, our front line, as well as then our partners, customers. Everything from AI. Again, we have an innovation division that really has done a great job with a lot of the AI technologies. Both, again, we talked about it a little earlier, from just on self-service on the web, to helping our folks really guide them through call flows and all. So I talk a lot about that, and just really helping improve the customer experience and making it smoother and taking those friction points out of the interaction, whether that's a voice, chat, email, what have you. And so that's a lot of what I talk about. I partner with some of our technology providers that we have. When you talk about it from an analytics and robotics standpoint, to device bits, as you talk to AI. Interestingly enough, I was at a conference in January and spoke on just the whole process and just operational excellence. And then literally not, 40 days later, I was in Orlando again at a different conference, and it was just a completely different, because we were right on the cusp of COVID. People weren't shaking hands; they were fist bumping and elbow bumping and all kinds of things. And so it'll be interesting to see now what the next one comes. But yeah, I can definitely, I really like to talk about how I can help our teams with the customer experience by bringing them the right technologies that just kind of create that great ecosystem of customer experience.
That's awesome. Well, I've had the pleasure of seeing you on stage, so I know you're really good at it as well. So last question, how can people get a hold of you if they want to connect with you after seeing this video and stay in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, you can get us through our website at resultstel.com, theresultscompanies.com, and then lori.brown@resultstel.com is my email. So I am always around. And, hopefully we'll be at a conference together soon.
I hope so. I hope so. Well, thank you so much, Lori, for being with me today. I really appreciate you taking time out on what I know is a very busy and hectic time. Next week, we're going to feature the CEO of a company called Lately, Kate Bradley Chernus. Kate is another friend of mine, and I did some work with Lately earlier on in the year. They're a social media platform that does things really differently and has a really unique experience, which is why I wanted to have her on. So thanks again to Lori Brown from the Results Companies, and thank you for watching episode 10 of The Experience Maker. We'll be back next week, 4 o'clock Eastern, every Thursday on LinkedIn Live. This is Dan Gingiss. Stay healthy and stay safe.